Michelle
and Mystery
at Oatland Island Wildlife Center with a very special edition of FOOVentures.
Yeah.
Say hello, tell us who you are, tell us where you are, and we're going to study the microcosmos of the tidal marsh today.
Yeah, and kind of how it starts the basis of our food chains and our food webs that occur within our marsh and our tidal creek, and also all of the really cool kind of metamorphosis life cycles that are going on within our marsh, because the marsh is like a big nursery actually.
It really is.
Yeah, it just acts as a home to a lot of young animals, especially even ocean dwelling animals come into the marsh to have their young and to kind of go through that small life stage, that young life stage.
All right, if you are a budding marine biologist, give us a thumbs up.
Oh yeah.
If you would like to be a marine biologist, this is a theme for you today, because we have a couple things that we've uncovered that we're going to share with you, but you know, world's full of mysteries. Something might happen out here.
Yeah, there's one right here.
Mystery.
I
got it.
Oh, that's a good joke.
All right, so how many of you out there have looked at the waters of Georgia and went, ew, it's so dark and murky,
Ooh, yeah.
and maybe been a little bit intimidated by that? Give us a thumbs up if you have had that experience.
It looks like really strong, like yerba mate.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. We're going to change your mindset.
Yeah.
Because this water is so biologically rich and nutritious, and Mr. E was talking about nurseries earlier today.
Yeah.
And so we're going to start you off with Lucy and Bella are here watching.
Always tuning in. Thank you.
You guys are the best.
Yeah, they are so
Always
awesome.
here.
Great supporters of Oatland.
Yeah. So we're talking about the color of the water right now, why it has that greenish hue right now, like a kind of a
Browny green.
brown green.
It's like gross looking, but it's not gross. It's awesome.
It's not gross. Life is not gross.
Yeah, because it's full of life.
You know, like people have this like vision of like tropical waters with crystal clear.
Yeah.
Hi, Logan. Is that North Carolina, Logan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
We're a little bit rocky because of
And
a
the
boat going by.
Yeah. But this water here is unlike the Caribbean. When you get that crystal clear water, it's full of life. And the Caribbean is kind of like a dead zone, right?
Yeah.
For living things.
Yeah, we have lots of like large species of fish and lots of coral reef and all those sort of things. But here we have amazing micro habitats and microorganisms. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do a plankton tow.
Yeah.
And a plankton tow is an amazing way to sample the life in the water. So see what is in that water.
Yes. Hi, Courtney and Shane. Thanks for joining us today. All right. So this is a special net. It's called a plankton net, and you can't see it, but there are little tiny holes that are 20 microns big. No, small.
That's small.
Tiny micron small.
Yeah.
Now, videographer, don't fall backwards. Okay, so 20 microns. So we're gonna do a little math for you older children out there, including you adults. A micron is, does anybody know the size of a micron in relation to a meter?
Oh, like a micrometer?
A micrometer, this is a micron. A micron is a micrometer.
Ooh.
So we have to talk about scientific notation. We're gonna talk about 1 times 10 to the negative 6.
What? That's
Meters.
a big number.
0.000001.
That's a big little number.
That's a little number. So every anything I catch in this net has to be bigger than 20 microns, but not so big that it could just swim out.
Yeah.
So it has to be a floating, drifting, going with the tide.
Mm-hmm.
So we call that plankton.
Mm-hmm.
Abigail and Owen, hi.
And
Abby.
tuning in as well.
Thanks for watching, y'all. Seeing y'all in the virtual world is kind of nice, or hearing about you. Okay, so we did this earlier, and when you do a plankton tow, you want to, if you're looking for phytoplankton.
That's like plankton.
Do you want to talk about that, Mystery, while I show you what I'm going to do?
So phytoplankton is kind of our plant plankton, our phyto is light, right? And so phyto or photo, that light is needed for their survival. So they're going to go through the process of photosynthesis, right?
They make their energy
So
from
they
the
make
sun.
their energy from the sun. And photosynthesis is this amazing thing that we think about trees and grasses and all sorts of plants doing, but phytoplankton does it too. And every third breath you take on this planet comes from phytoplankton working really hard to give you oxygen. So say thank you to our oceans, say thank you to our phytoplankton who give you all that beautiful oxygen, more so than the Amazon rainforest, which everyone is always so concerned about, which you should be, but you should also thank the ocean for all that beautiful oxygen. So phytoplankton is kind of our plant plankton, and then we have zooplankton as well, or zooplankton, depending on who you talk to.
And what do you see
and
in the
that's
zoo?
the animal, right? Animal.
Yeah.
You guys knew that. And the animal plankton is often going to feed on the phytoplankton, or even feed on other animal plankton. Zooplankton is kind of really varied. There's lots of different types. Sometimes we think of like the stages or the life cycle of an animal as being a zooplankton stage and then moving out of that. But a lot of times zooplankton is an animal that's staying that size its whole entire life.
Okay,
it's crazy to think about.
So thumbs up if you eat seafood.
Yeah.
Right? Give us thumbs up. Give us some sign. Because if you eat seafood, if you don't have tidal creeks and salt marshes like this, you don't get seafood. Because this is, like he said, the nursery where the babies come in, the crabs, the oysters, the fish, the shrimp. Okay, so right now I'm pulling in the photic zone. That's the light zone. So I want to get the ones that photosynthesize. But if I drop it down really deep and it disappears under the water, I'm going to go into the darker zones. We might catch some more zooplankton. They migrate up and down in the daytime, kind of avoiding predators because it's a plankton eat plankton world out there.
Yeah.
So and
everything's eating everyone else.
Basically, I pull it up, and you look like you caught some water.
But look at the darkness, and you actually see the gradient in there. That darker sediment is probably a lot of detritus, dead and decaying organic matter,
He's using big words
dead
again.
plants floating around in the water. But some of that is actually plankton grabbing up that light as well.
Yeah. So we have done some early work today.
We did some prep work.
But while we're here, we're gonna. Hey, Mandy. Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right.
Mr. E set up a trap.
Oh yeah.
I might try to catch Zoe crabs.
Yeah.
That's the larval stages.
The little tiny ones.
Microscopic ones, zooplankton. He's gonna show us what they turn into.
Yeah. So Miss Michelle just mentioned that we have an industry here, or basically a whole bunch of people that rely on the marsh for food, but also people that have to harvest that food. And so a lot of times we'll talk about crabbers or shrimpers. So we put out a little crab trap just this morning to see what is in our marsh. And so we've got a tide moving around, and these animals have been moving around on the tide, finding some dead and decaying things.
Ooh.
And so we've got,
Dinner.
looks like 4 blue crab there. And right now we've got quite a bit of blue crab action going on, moving in as the adults try to find mates, and they're going to be doing mating. So we're going to see if we've got some males and females and show you all how we can tell that. I'm going to try to flip the cage. We can see the bottoms.
You don't want to pull one out?
I'm gonna pull one out.
Mystery's not afraid of a crab.
I mean, I've gotten him pinched before, so I am a little bit afraid.
They have some pretty strong pinchers. So, is it Calanectes? Is that their name? Their name is Beautiful Swimmer?
Yeah, they have these amazing. So this is actually a female. So females have more of like a pyramidal shape on the bottom of their shell.
This is a female that has had eggs.
Yep, and she's recently had eggs.
Because it's turned into the Taj Mahal look.
Yeah, and so that kind of fringed edge tells us that she's had eggs, or she might be developing eggs. We're not quite sure.
And if it's the shape of the pyramids of Egypt, she's a female that's never had eggs yet.
Yeah, so this is a really cool reproductive female. Super exciting to see these guys as they form the basis of our system.
Swimmerettes.
Amazing swimmerettes. They actually float in the water column and swim with kind of the tide and use the tide as kind of a free boost. So I'll grab a male now. I'm gonna let her go.
You're not gonna eat her?
No. Make sure that's a boy.
Okay, we're back. Sorry about that, friends. We're learning the limitations of our technology. The phones got a little hot out there in the sun. So we're back in our brand new, amazing doc lab.
Yeah,
Yay.
no shade out there, so it was really heating up down there.
Yes, we brought our friend up here, and we have a lot more to show you up here. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, so this is a male blue crab, and so you can see that obelisk that Miss Michelle was talking about on the plastron. Yeah, plastron, right?
Yeah.
And the plastron has a kind of a view of the bottom, and that was going to cover up where they're able to release their sperm to fertilize those females' eggs, and then the female would carry those eggs around with her. So pretty amazing, kind of morphologically, how their body's set up. They can grab onto things with these amazing little points and trap them against their body, and then use both their crushing claw and their cutting claw. That's kind of the coolest thing I think about when I think about crabs, is that they always have a claw that has larger bumps on one side for crushing, and then they have a cutting claw which is more serrated for chopping up their food into smaller pieces. So they can eat mollusks, they can eat dead fish, they can grab fish out of the water column. They're really cool predators.
Yeah.
And also scavengers kind of too.
Yeah, and when the female is, they call it soft shell, and she's going through a molt, she's carrying the spongy egg mass underneath her. Those eggs will hatch into zoe larvae, zoids, zoea. It's kind of a cool name, and they are plankton. They're microscopic zooplankton swimming around in the water, looking for these over here. You want to come in here? We got a microscope with a camera on it, kind of like we did when we did our log roll. And I'm going to show you some phytoplankton. So if you see those little ladder-looking, they look like ladders, like little pieces of grass. Those skeletonema, that's phytoplankton. Everything's kind of small right now. We're kind of early in the spring growing season. As summer comes, these organisms will grow and get bigger and longer. But there's some round ones in there. Those are called Coscinodiscus. These are all diatoms. And if you ever, you've actually probably used diatoms in your daily life and you don't even know it. They put diatoms in paint to make it reflective. So when you drive at night and you see the lines reflecting, that's diatoms. You probably put diatoms in one form in your gas tank.
Ooh.
What do you mean? What do I mean by that? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Well, so fossil fuels they think are coming from diatoms. We okay? Eric needs to come in a little bit closer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, come on in, Eric. So we have diatoms on here. Also in toothpaste, I've heard too. It's abrasive. You can use it for pesticides in your garden because these glass shells that they grow in, they're like shards of glass. And if you're an arthropod, like a slug, you'll get cut.
Yeah, it's like the cell walls, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're like
Cell walls
really
really
silica-based cell walls.
Oh, there's a barnacle.
Oh, cool.
Oh, there's a zooplankton. That's a baby barnacle, larval form of a barnacle. He's got one eye. You see his eyeball?
That's super cool. Yeah.
He's not moving very well because this dried out and it was sitting in like salt grains, and then I just reconstituted it with more ocean water. So all this detritus Mr. E was talking about, that's dead decomposing plant material, that's all good for detritivores.
Yeah, that's good noms.
Shrimp love it. That's their food. These are all these skeletonema.
Yeah, it's good to see skeletonema. That means that they've got a healthy, high oxygen environment because they're producing oxygen in the water.
Yeah, so this is the bottom of the marine food chain, friends. Right here, life begins. So you have to have these producers, these primary producers producing oxygen and the food chain, basing the food chain.
So, Ms. Michelle, you've been using a microscope.
Yeah.
And then we're going to switch to a different scope here in a little bit. Can we talk about magnification for a little bit?
Sure. Okay, so the microscope is right now set 10 power. 10 power. The ocular piece has some power on it. I'm not exactly sure. 10 by what?
18.
10 by 18. So we're looking at about 100 times the magnification that you would see in your naked eye when you're looking at that.
So you can't just go out and see phytoplankton?
If you put a jar up against water, glass against the light, sometimes you can see little things swimming around. You can see the
Zooplankton, yeah.
The animal plankton.
So phytoplankton is very hard to see
Very
with
hard
the
to
naked
see.
eye. Yeah.
Yeah.
So microscope is amazing tool. They also sell digital microscopes now that are very cheap, that can connect to your computer, so you get a big wide screen, so you don't have to look through those eyepieces if that's hard for you to do. So science, and really in-depth science that 100 years ago would be impossible, you can do in your home now very easily. So really, really cool that we're getting this technology that allows us to see something that normally we wouldn't get to.
That's 40 power.
40
Just
pounds.
to give you an idea. That's 100 power. You want to see 400 power? I don't know
Yeah.
if I can do it.
Maybe.
It might go into the water. Let's see. All right.
Whoa, it's blank.
I'm afraid I'm going to
No,
get the lens wet.
the focus, yeah. So what we're going
Here
to
it is.
look at in a bit, though, is a different type of microscope called the Dissecting Scope, which does much less
There we go.
magnification, but you can actually see some very cool characteristics of different macroorganisms that we pulled out of our
Getting there.
fowling community. So we're going to look at some organisms from our fowling community in just a bit.
Coming. Try to go real slow. That's the
Oh,
skeletonema.
yeah. It's so hard to focus.
Oh my gosh. You got to find focus here. It's kind of hard because we're using a camera on the, so we're losing our light quality by putting an extra camera on there instead of our eye going straight into it. All right, I blobbed it.
That's okay.
I did a touchdown.
So what we're going to do now is we're just going to switch to that macro.
Okay.
And the macro, then we can look at some of our organisms that we can see with the naked eye, but that are a little bit different. So I'm going to show you guys a close-up on the camera, and then we're going to put it underneath the microscope on the
Let me
screen.
say hi to Pam and Dr. Mailer and hi Robin and hi Aaron. Thank you for joining us today. Get your questions ready.
Yes.
Ask questions.
So this is, I guess we can kind of set you guys up for a question. I want you guys to try to figure out what this organism is. Is it a plant? Is it an animal? What's going on with it? And then we'll talk about it when we get a better magnification. So this is one example of a different type from a phylum, a group of animals. We've got lots of different phylums, though, that live in our fowling community and hide. We've got different types of crabs. So we've got a young blue crab in there, and we've got a little stone crab next to it. It might be a mud crab, but different types of crab live in there. We've got polychaete worms, which are amazing, amazing worms. Kind of my favorite thing because of their locomotion, how they move around. So I'll try to pull him out.
Say
He's
hi to
tucked around.
Megan and Hoyt. Thanks for joining us in watching today, FOOVentures.
There we go.
We're
You
we're
can kinda
geeking
see
out
the-
about Tidal Creek.
The cilia.
Tidal Creek geeks.
And they're kind of see-through. It's super, super cool. So that's one of my favorite polychaete worms. Many-legged worm. Annelids.
Polychaete. Many bristles.
Many bristles, yeah.
That's what it means.
And then got something that you might have even eaten before. These are our small ribbed mussels. Typically we think of these in the marsh mud, but they do actually form parts of our fowling community, attached basically to any sessile thing. So any solid thing that's not going to move, they'll attach to. So we have a lot of sessile organisms attaching onto our dock, and they foul it, they mess it up.
Well, that's what boaters say.
Yeah, because it slows down your boat,
Doesn't think it's
makes
foul.
it heavier.
But you know, there's a competition for space in Georgia because if you think about it, we have muddy, really soft clay bottom rivers and creeks. You can't really attach to that.
Yeah.
So if anything, like a piece of a log falls in, or even marine debris like trash, they will attach to it. That's why
Yeah.
you find things out in the ocean covered in barnacles
Yeah.
and other fouling community sessile is a better way to say it for
Yeah.
biologists.
Yeah.
Sessile organisms stuck. Sessile. They can't move.
Yeah, and it's really important too because these form their own little kind of micro habitats, and a barnacle might be attached and then die, and that barnacle, that void will get filled up with other organisms and new things will move in. So any little tiny niche of space gets filled up and something lives in there.
Do you think you would share your space if you were a sessile organism?
No. You
What
want
if
to
I grew
outcompete.
on top of you?
No, you want to outcompete, right? So a lot of the animals become communal, or like have evolved to be communal and live together. Humans, we don't really do as well when we're stacked on top of each other, but these animals are kind of evolved to do that. So Miss Michelle's going to switch over our kind of scope that we're looking through the macro kind of dissecting scope with. She's going to switch it over. We're going to get a good view of some different things we found. So one of the things that we're going to look at is really, really amazing. It's a type of nudibranch. or nudibranch, or sea hares they're sometimes called. And basically this is an organism that moves around throughout kind of the fowling community, feeding on kind of the vegetation there. You can think of it as like a little tiny horse. That's why I call them seahorse, because they're moving around and they're grazing. We also have some small jellyfish we found that are very, very small, just barely seen by the naked eye. And then we might take a look at the mouth parts of some of our larger animals like our crabs, and maybe even see how some of our mollusks are feeding with their mouths as well.
Look at this mollusca.
Oh yeah, so this is a mollusk. These are the sea hares moving around. So there's a
What?
fly in there.
What?
So
Can't even see the fly.
that might be a gnat.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. You guys know how much we hate gnats. That sea hare hates them too.
If you
That's crazy.
watch, eventually you'll see their tentacles come out. Their
Yeah, and
antenna.
that's kind of little eye stalks that they're sensing the world with. They're light sensing organisms, and they kind of feel around as they move throughout. Miss Michelle's going to try to flip one over, and we can see maybe the bottom a little bit better. Yeah.
Did I get it?
Nope. It was almost there.
It's hard to do.
It is hard to do. We're chasing it. There we go. Yeah, and so we can see the bottom a little bit. It's a little hard. We're losing our light quality for whatever reason. But you can see they are alive. They are moving. They're just very small. So this is a 1x, so that's like a 20 times the size of the organism there. And then it can go up to about 60 times the size with this type of microscope.
Yeah, and do you want to see how small they are with your
Oh
camera?
yeah. So with a naked eye, they're about the size
Can you
of
see that?
a little tiny mustard seed.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, super, super cool.
And these things will grow bigger.
Yeah. You want to look at the rise? Oh, I almost said the answer.
Yeah, but they don't know what that is. You can call it all you want. But I want to see this little teddy come out. There they are. There's one.
Oh yeah.
Right there, right there.
So they are moving. It's a living animal. Looks like a slug. Probably as closely related to a slug as most marine organisms are that are mollusks. Moving around. Pretty
What's
amazing.
that? Is that the fly?
Yeah, that's so weird. It's a little gnat, I think.
Yeah. But fish love flies.
Yep. Nom,
So
nom, noms.
it's part of that food chain now. Is he going to the bathroom? Maybe not.
Probably. Everything's going to the bathroom always.
Yeah, so when you guys swim in the ocean, just saying, keep your mouth closed.
Ones and twos.
Just
Happening
kidding.
all the time.
Your stomach acids take care of it. Don't worry. Oh yeah. Okay. And if we did this later this summer, you would be amazed at how much has grown. Like it's like, your garden. Things start off small and then they grow and they grow and they grow. All right, Mr.
I don't
gonna
know if
try.
this is going to balance.
You want me to do it at this angle? Okay.
So the hairy legs of our stone crab there, help them to blend in.
Keeps moving.
You can see their mouth, when he went really fast by, those mouth parts are circulating the water, bringing the water in to the mouth so they can filter feed all that detritus out. They're also going to find dead and decaying animals as well, so they're not just going to eat the detritus.
That's so cool.
But super, super amazing scavengers, really important. Also a delicacy, the stone crabs are another thing that kind of Florida is better known for than us, but we do have stone crabs in Georgia.
I can't get him.
That's okay.
He's too big.
That was a good view. We can move on to the next.
They're very mobile.
They're a little more mobile. It's hard when things are moving around. Maybe pull out the muscles.
One advantage of having all this, these hairs attached to your body
Oh yeah.
is because of that sessile community is so aggressive at finding a place to attach. They'll grow on living things, right?
Yeah.
You know about whales that get barnacles growing
Yeah.
on them. So a lot of animals that are sessile organisms that are also filter feeding the plankton out of the water column, they don't want someone to rob their food, so they're gonna put projections on their
Yeah.
body so nobody can live on them.
Yeah, they're making themselves harder to
What are we looking
colonize.
at now?
Maybe the mussels. I don't know if they were active right now. So mussels have really cool kind of papillae that come out and move water in through them. We have lots of different types of. There we go. There we go. I don't know if they might not be feeding now. When a mussel gets scared, they close up.
Yeah, we're scaring them.
So they might be a little scared.
There's some found
growing on its back, and they even shed their shell. So
This guy's
barnacles can basically grab onto anything and
He's
start
got
to grow.
some stuff growing on him, some algae, some green algae, some, I don't know, maybe crusting bryozoans,
Yeah.
maybe some sponge, who knows, it's lots of stuff on him right there.
Let's move
There's a
to
little
that,
orange piece
that
right there.
tuft-looking thing that we were talking about that
What?
you just said the name of.
What tuft?
The thing that looks like a truffula tuft.
A truffula tuft. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Bryozoan next to you.
Oh, okay. Didn't know what you're talking about. All right, so plant or animal is the question. You have to type in your answers. You all must participate. Sorry. You're getting graded. Just kidding. You're not. All right.
So
Let's see.
really, really cool surface of the water, and then we're kind of looking at the edge of this bryozoan, which is this crazy,
I don't know.
kind
Not
of
very good at this
interesting.
today.
Just the part that's coming out was good. You
It's
can see
too.
the
I'm
cells in
gonna
it.
break it up a little bit. Let light come through.
Break it up.
Sorry, Eric.
Sad face.
Sad
That was
face.
a beautiful specimen.
No, that's the problem.
There we go.
Technology. I stirred things up a little bit.
So you can see all of the different organisms that are actually in that water are moving around. Oh yeah. And you can see there's one right there. There's a little copepod there.
Oh, I'm
Well,
Coco
moving
for
around.
copepods. Yahoo! Oh, is that a skeleton shrimp? No. Oh,
No.
is it isopod?
Little
Look at them
isopod.
living inside of this animal. Life within life.
Yeah. So
Microhabitats.
So Miss Michelle just gave the answer away.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It is an
Did
animal.
anybody say their
so
answers?
it
I'm
looks
not
like
watching.
it looks like
Lucy, yes, animal.
It
Abigail,
looks like. Hi, Mom. How you doing, Mom?
Marsha.
It looks like it is a plant. It grows like a plant. It has structure like a plant, but it's actually an animal, and actually filter feeds and different parts of the community of the animal actually will do crazy different things. So some of them will be in charge of reproducing, some of them will be in charge of feeding, some of them will be in charge of defending, keeping other organisms away from growing on them, like Miss Michelle said.
Eric, I have to comment real
Lots
quickly.
of competition.
Abigail, you're right. It's a plantimal.
Plantimal. It is. It looks exactly like
I
a
love
plant,
it. Smart.
but it is an animal. And you can actually see.
I can't get a good view of it right now.
You can get a good view. I believe in you.
No, let's just show them. Did they see it yet in the water? Let's just show
Yeah.
them.
They did see it in the water.
Okay, I can zoom in on it from here, can I? No,
Yeah.
I can't.
You can. I believe in you.
You
You're doing
believe
it.
in me?
You're doing it.
I believe. Okay, the plantimal. All over the dock here at Oatland Island, all along the edges. There's the plantimal.
There you go. And you can see the edges have little pores on them. This just kind of looks like a coral, but it's actually in its own phylum. It's not even related to corals. It's in its own big group. It's as far away from coral as we are away from, let's say, a jellyfish. How about that?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Because we're a chordate. We got a cord.
We got a spinal
We
cord.
got a spinal cord. We're super sad today because our dock is been taken over by this bryozoan, and not that the bryozoan is bad, but it's removed or replaced a lot of the really cool things that we like to call our sea squirts. And sea squirts have a notochord, and they are a chordate, but they look a little like a jellyfish, and they'll filter feed, and they'll squirt water out, and they're really fun to play around with. And they're kind of my favorite thing in the fouling community. We don't have any. All of ours have been replaced and outcompeted by our bryozoan. And we have basically 4 species of bryozoan that live on our dock, but that club type one is really the one that's kind of taken over. My favorite thing though about bryozoan is their name that is common, and they call them moss animals.
Moss animals.
So
Plantimal.
plantimal is a perfect name for
Yeah.
them because they call them moss animals. They look like moss, but they're animals. Super
All right, let's show them the ones everyone is afraid of at the beach.
cool. So they're in the round one, and there's one still in the small one.
Okay, so right here.
They're in the clear round one.
They're so hard to see. I don't either.
Oh, they're in here.
Okay, that's a lot of water. All right, so earlier today we just put the net in the water because we were looking for these animals that sting their prey, maybe they're microscopic plankton, zooplankton, and some of them have little hairs that they brush, and they don't sting, they just pull them in with their little hairs. Those are called the ctenophores, or the comb jellies. You seen a comb jelly before? Mm-hmm. It looks like a jelly, but it's not. It looks like snot, but it's not.
Yeah, sometimes
if you pick it up, it looks like snot. It looks like it's kind of gross. But it actually is super cool, and they bioluminesce. That means they glow at night. They beat their little hairs, and if they get disturbed by something, they give off light. It's amazing. In fact, I just want to tell you, if you go down the ocean at full moon, there is a lot of bioluminescence right now, right from life. You can see your hands when you shake in the water, they'll glow around your hands. Amazing! All right, we're going to try to get these jellies on view here for you. I don't like the pressure of having to focus and find it.
Michelle, focus.
Don't like it. Okay, very good. Well, they have questions. We got to keep looking. Kathy can't wait to come back and visit. Yay, Kathy! We can't wait for you to come back and visit. Honestly, let's talk about that. All right, there we go. Here's one of them, beating his little bell, as happy as can be. A jelly it might sting you, or it might sting me. I'm a poet.
So jellyfish are really interesting too, because their stinging is basically only used to capture food. It's not used for defense. Jellyfish won't choose to sting you. They're just moving around. If you get in their way, you're going to get stung. So if you ever think, oh, that jellyfish went and stung me, well, more like you were in its home and you ran into it than anything else.
4 or 5 of them, but there's only one in here.
I just put one in there.
Oh, you did?
Because I had to change the water out because they had dirtied it.
Oh, okay. Well, we had different species, perhaps.
Yeah, and cnidarians are really, really cool. They use their bell to move around. If you go out to the beach on the Georgia coast, even the South Carolina coast right now, they're full of our cannonball jellyfish, which are littering the beach. We're actually surprised we didn't see any floating through the marsh today. A lot of times we'll see them moving around too.
That's good litter on the beach, Eric.
Yeah. Why?
Because there are animals that will eat them on the beach. It's part of their diet and their needs is to get those jellies that are plankton and drifting, and they get drifted up with the tides. They need it. So speaking of Memorial Weekend, y'all, watch your trash. Keep it tight. Don't bring plastic to the beach. It's the best thing. You have to have plastic bottles, right? But because they'll let you have glass. But we just want to make sure that you try to keep your plastic from getting blown away out there. Eric, you going to show them what it looks like? Show them with your thumb.
Oh, yeah.
This is a jelly.
A little tiny jellyfish.
Crazy.
My dirty thumb.
Audrey, why are blue crabs blue? Blue is, I know blue is one of the hardest pigments to make in nature.
Anthocyanins.
Yeah, the anthocyanins are the hardest to make.
Blue crabs are blue because of anthocyanins, which make them
Talk to the camera.
blue so that you can see them, and also blue because it helps them to find little spots where they can take a view, and that blue will shine up like really bright to any other blue crab that's around, because blue crabs don't really do any talking. They might do some clicking or clacking, but to find the mate, it's mostly visual. And if you're in a cloudy environment,
Yeah.
probably important.
Yeah, good camouflage. Yeah, and if you missed this episode, well, you didn't miss it because you're here, but you missed the beginning of it,
Yeah.
or maybe you missed all of any other of the 19 others. This is our 20th episode. They're going to be on our our YouTube channel.
Yep.
Can you see
And
them on our Facebook page?
And they'll be on Facebook.
Can
Yeah.
you see them on our Facebook page?
Yeah.
And or Comcast channel 195.
Yeah, well, they'll be doing replays through SEC-PSS.
And we hope that you are inspired by our beautiful, dark, murky, life-rich, nutrient-rich tidal creeks, all the lovely organisms that are making it their home, making it one of the most productive ecosystems in the world.
Yeah, next time you have a low country boil, thank the marsh.
Yeah, thank the marsh, and have a fantastic Memorial Day. Be safe, 6 feet safe, remember, and don't drive like my daughter.
Yeah, be safe on the roads, guys.